these definitions. I'm going to try and make them as easy as possible for you guys. Sometimes we need to write these things out and draw them out. So there's a definition. I'm going to try to abbreviate the definition. It doesn't need to be the exact book's definition because generally speaking that doesn't make even sense to me. For the things that are applicable, we're going to draw a little sketch of them. We might draw some notation so we know how it is, and we might talk about how it's read. So if you see it somewhere, that you actually know what's going on. Is that all right? Okay. So, a point. This is the most basic building block. Most basic building block of geometry. And I will abbreviate things, and I'm sorry if you can't read in the back. I'll usually repeat it. Most basic building block of geometry. Most basic building block of geometry. I have horrible handwriting right now. There is no size. There's only a position or a location. I'm working my handwriting here. Okay. Most basic building block of geometry. There's no size, like how big is a point? Well, it's right there. Okay. You can't measure it, even though there's physically a point there. You can't measure across and say it's, even a micrometer, which is really small. You can't measure it. There's only a position. Okay. Okay. When we draw it out, if we have something over here, each one of these are going to be like points. You guys know what points are. Pretty simple. We'll usually label it. You might see some notation in a textbook that'll say, it'll maybe draw a little point, and it'll say P. That means point P. Okay? I know this is kind of ridiculous. And you would just read this as point P. And sometimes you just say, wow. You just say P. Okay? That is it's not a cookie. It's like a circle, there's just little dots in it. Each one of those are a point. It's alright. Hey, I'm glad you asked. And guys, that's kind of what I was talking about. It's funny. It's I agree. So it's funny. Okay, a line. Okay? A line, it's always funny. People always tell me there's straight lines. The definition of a line, it's always straight. You do not need to tell me that it's a straight line, because everything we're talking about, all lines are going to be straight. You don't have to say it, okay? And it has infinite length. Infinite length, okay? And what you need is 2 points. And I abbreviate points PTX, just so you guys know. A straight line, all lines are straight. Secondly, it has infinite length. It goes forever to the right. It goes forever to the left. It goes forever up. It goes forever down. It always goes on. But you need 2 points. Okay. If I was to sketch this thing out, I'd draw a line like so. Here's a point. Here's a point. We'll call this A. We'll call this B. Okay. And the way that we show it goes on forever and ever, how do you think we do that? Yeah. So this means it goes forever that direction. That one goes forever that direction. Okay. Pretty simple, right? You will see this written out in one of 2 ways. It says AB or BA. They're going to be the same way. But the idea is this is a line. So we need to specify that's a line. So what they'll do is they'll draw a line symbol with the 2 arrows on top. Okay? So it could either be BA or AB. Okay? If you read it from this way, this is AB. Well, this is BA. Okay? Either way is acceptable. Either way is correct. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay. That's how it's led. You just say line A B. Go the other way. Does that make sense? Okay. I know this is very straightforward. I just want to make sure it's straightforward as we go along. Okay. Plane. I always picture like a piece of paper just sort of sitting out here. Okay, this is basically a plane, or the floor right here is a plane. It's a 2-dimensional object that just goes on forever in every single direction. So basically, the ground. Okay, it basically goes on if there were no curbs or steps or anything. The ground, it's really flat. It goes on forever. Like that back wall. Okay, it's smooth. It goes on forever. They can be vertical. They can be horizontal on the ground. They can be sort of slanted throughout the land like this. Okay. It's just this really long thing that just kind of cuts through. for infinity in every single direction. Okay? Kind of weird, but here's the deal. There's no thickness. There's no thickness. So like a piece of paper is kind of a good example because, like, how thick is a piece of paper? Well, that's like 1 micron thick. Okay? But we don't measure things in microns really. Like many of you, how many people have even heard of a micron? There's a couple people in here. Yeah, micro, but it is a micron. It's really small. There's no thickness to a plane. Okay? There's no thickness. It's basically just a flat surface. It's a flat surface. And it's always represented, I'm going to write REP, it's represented as a 4-sided figure. It's represented by a 4-sided figure. It's kind of strange, and they usually show it kind of slanted in the air. Okay? So it's usually kind of slanted in the air, just shows a plane. So you have to picture this being 3-dimensional, all right? It's almost always drawn this way. It looks like this, show that it's like slanted in the air. Okay? And there'll be some points usually on top of it, and one of those will be labeled like P. Okay? So it's like a slanted piece of paper there, and one of those points is just sitting right on top of it, or in it, technically, is there, and we will call this plane P. Okay, plane P, and there's not really notation for it. Both these you would just, there's not an abbreviation for it. You just say plane P. It's both the, there's no abbreviation, there's no notation. You just read it as plane P. Plane P. I know it's pretty low down. Okay, these, sorry, you guys still have a little bit of room on that page, correct? I do not have room in mine. The very bottom of that, in really big letters, write basic building blocks, write that really big, basic building blocks. Probably like this big, right? Basic building blocks. B-try. Is that what you said? Oh boy. Basic building blocks. I'm going to write it right here. Basic building blocks. Okay? So the way that it's going to be referenced on your test, you know it's going to be referenced on your test. This is what's going to be referenced on your test. These are going to be called the undefined terms. I want you to write that really big too. That's the way it's going to be stated on your test. Okay? This is really a strange concept because we just wrote the definitions of these things, right? Kind of?
Yes.
Yeah. We kind of wrote some definitions. If you just said no size, does that mean point? Does only position mean a point? Does most basic building block of geometry, is that a definition that specifically says point? These aren't really definitions. These are kind of ways that we can describe them, but they're not definitions. I know it kind of sounds weird. These three don't really have definitions. That's why they're undefined terms, okay? The rest of them are basically every single other thing in geometry, every single other thing that's out there are based on these three things, okay? So these are basically where we start, and everything else is based on it. Does that make a little bit of sense? I think it's a very strange term, but this is how it's going to be referenced on your test, is undefined terms. Okay? And it'll actually say, what are the three undefined terms? And you'll write point. Yeah, PLP. Point, line, plane. PLP. Point, line, plane. Got it? Next page. Pretzels. Point, line, plane.
Real talk.
Hey, everyone, underline the word line. We're at collinear. Collinear, everyone underline the word line in collinear. Everyone underline the word line in collinear. And then the word co. Okay? Okay, it says three or more points on the same line. 3 or more points on the same line. Okay? 3 or more points on the same line. It's collinear. Co basically means it basically means the on the same part, and line is the linear part. And then it's linear, like a linear equation. What's an equation for a line? It actually has the word line in it, so you should think line. Collinear means 3 or more points on the same line. Here's what this looks like. We have some line, looks like this. A, B, C. Big stick, right? There's no notation or red as. Okay. Next thing, coplanar. What does co mean? It means kind of together or on the same. And what do you think planar is going to mean? Plane. Okay. So that means this time we only have 2 or more points on the same what now? Plane. Yeah, it's not. It's no longer line. It's now plane because it's coplanar. Coplanar is going to tell us that it's on the same plane. Okay. So how do we draw that? How do you draw a plane? Kind of like a little rhombus thing here. Okay. Little rhombus, and guess what? Here's a point. Here's a point. Coplanar. Coplanar. Tell me about it. What do you think non-collinear means? Okay, so we're definitely going to need a line, right? Here's a line. Okay. So we're going to need some point here. So we'll say that's A. We'll say that's B. And guess what? We have point C that's hanging out over there. Okay. A, B, and C are non-collinear because, honestly, we're not on the same line. Okay. There's no line that you can draw that goes through, but all 3 A, B, and C are all the same time. Kind of a weird definition, but A, B, and C, non-collinear just means not on the same line. Not on the same line. Okay? Not on the same line. Is everyone able to do this all? Is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
cool.
We're going to keep going. Non-coplanar, what do you think? Not on the same plane. So, like, you take the plane to New York, someone take the plane to LA. Not on the same plane. That was a joke. Okay, let's picture that this point up here, C is like, hovering like above it. So there's our plane right here. We have some point that's like way over here. Okay, like this point, C that's way up here. So A is right here, B is right here, C is hanging out way off the plane. The rest of them are taking a plane. Yeah, some planes do a little like. Yeah, no. Really? Okay, line segment. Okay? It's like, the way I think of this is it's basically part of a line. Part of a line. So a line goes on forever, right? If we just want to talk about a little bit of it, it's now called line segment. It's a segment, like segments just means a piece of something. So we're talking about like part of a line. That's what a line segment means, just part of a line. What you're going to need is you're going to need 2 endpoints. You're going to need to say, hey, where does that thing start? Where does it end? Okay? It's the 2 endpoints and all collinear points between. You could say in between if you really wanted, but okay. 2 endpoints and all the collinear points between. You see how now, like today, we define point, collinear, and now all of a sudden we're using those 2 in the definition? Okay. So if we had a line, get a line here. This is A, this is B, something like that. Okay? That's line AB. Okay? If we just all of a sudden stop here and say, okay, we have A, we have B, and we draw this like so. This is now line segment AB. Okay? And line segments is just kind of a strange concept to think about. The line segments are just made up of infinitely many little small points that are on here. It's like a string of pearls, basically. Okay? So there's just little tiny points that are right next to each other. There's actually no like straight line that's connecting. It's actually just little tiny points that are all sitting right next to each other. Okay? And the way that we write this, we could write this as either AB or BA. Okay? And in order to designate that it's just a line segment, we write one of these on there. Okay, what's different between this and a line? Yeah, line has little arrows on it. Line segments don't. They stop. Okay? So these guys, no arrows, that means line segment. Those guys, just line segment. Okay? I need to pronounce it line segment AB or line segment BA. Okay? Can we go to the next page?
Yep.
We're getting there, guys. I know. This is my least favorite thing to do. Okay. Endpoints of a segment. A point. The point that causes the ray to stop. Oh, I'm sorry, not the ray. We haven't done rays yet. Okay. So if we start here and we drew as many letters we want, let's do D, E. Or we did C, B, something like that. Those guys there are the endpoints. Like that's an endpoint. That guy's an endpoint. That guy's an endpoint. Okay. Those guys are the endpoints. Where are they at? They're at the end. Pretty straightforward. A lot of this stuff is very, very simple, and I'm sorry to kind of bore you guys with this, but some days, probably about, there's a couple times this chapter we have to do this, and then after a while, we don't do this for a long time, so I'm really looking forward to those days. Okay, array. Array has one endpoint. Let's need a B in there. Endpoint. One endpoint. Has one. This is terrible. I'm drawing with like a crane up here. Has one endpoint. So endpoint. Has one end. Oh,
Oh, it's copy on that board. Why didn't you write on the whiteboard?
has one and is that better? Okay. Has one endpoint and contains wow, it does not contain it continues. I'm really sorry. Okay. It has one endpoint and it continues in one direction. This is huge. There are two pieces of this definition, 1 and 2. Okay? Has one endpoint and continues in one direction. These guys are huge. People mess these up. I don't know. It's like the most missed thing in all of geometry. I have no idea why. It's very confusing for some people. That's why I put a little star next to it. It's a very simple word. Basically, hey, we're going to start here at A. We're going to go through B forever. Okay? We're going to start at A. And we're going to go through B, and we're going to continue in that direction forever. Okay? Similarly, we could start over here in B, and we could go in the direction of A forever. Okay? So these are two different things. These are named differently, so be careful with this. You always, where do you start with this? You start at A. So we're going to write A first. And we're going to write B because we go in the direction of B. How do you think we write this? Just a little arrow. It goes like that guy. Go in that direction. So we start at A. We go in the direction of B. Okay, this one we write as B. We go in the direction of A. So it looks like that. We just pronounce this really simply. Ray AB. This is Ray B. A. Piece of cake, right? Piece of pie. Yes, ma'am.
Does it matter which way you put the arrows?
It does. There's no such symbol. There's no such symbol as like this thing does not exist in mathematics. Okay? That thing does not exist. I'm going to draw a little line through it. That thing does not exist. Okay? There's no arrow that goes left. The only arrow goes right. Thank you for clarifying that. I would have forgotten. Okay. Congruent. Hey, you guys know the number 2 equals 2, right? Number 12 equals 12, right? Okay. Numbers can be equal to each other. Numbers are equal to each other. Geometric things are congruent. So we write an equal sign with like a little bit of toothpaste on top. Like that. Okay? So it has like a little squiggle on top. It's like a little toothbrush with a little squiggle on top. I'll write another one. I kind of write them differently. You might want to look at it. You'll see it in the book. It's an equal sign with a little squiggle on top. It's congruent. So equal sign is always number. It means basically, it means equal for geometric stuff. Equal for geometric objects. You might see something like this. You might have this as AB. This is like CD, like so. AB and CD. If they're both like say 4 centimeters long, or they have like a tick mark or something on there like so, like that means the same length, same thing. We would write something like this. We'd write line segment AB is congruent to line segment CD, like so. Okay. AB is congruent to CD. AB is congruent to CD. That's what it is.
Is that a G? That's a geometric.
That says geometric.
Okay.
So equal for geometric things.
Elements.
So like geometric stuff. When you talk about rectangles or lines or rays or anything else. What time do we got here?
19. We figured that out.
19.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that helps. I was like, there's no way. Bisects. How many wheels does a bicycle have?
2. They could have 3.
No, that'd be a tricycle.
Oh, no.
Okay, so bi. Okay, if you were to dissect something, what does that mean? The very first thing you do is you basically cut it, right? It means you're gonna, and basically this means you're gonna cut something in 2 exact pieces. Bisect, bi means 2. Sect means to cut or to divide. To divide in 2 is basically what we're talking about.
Wait, what is that? 16?
So it's a 2 cut.
Oh, okay.
Because bi means 2, sect means cut or to divide.
Wait,
Okay.
this is 2 cut.
Just say 2 cut.
Like this.
Cut. The opposite. Cut the object into 2 congruent pieces. Cut the object into 2 congruent pieces. So, if we had A's over here, I know, I'm getting tired of those two. B's over here. Okay, there's B, there we go. We cut it right in half.
One more.
See?
I missed it.
There's C. Sorry. Okay? There's A. There's B. C cuts it exactly in half. Boom and boom. Those are the exact same lengths now. Let's just say this is 4 centimeters. This is 4 centimeters. C cut it exactly in half. How long is it from A to B? 8. So C has to be exactly in the middle, 4 and 4. Okay? So what we'd say here is we'd say something like line segment AC is now it's congruent to line segment, we'll say BC. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What? I like just randomly saying that too. So that's okay. Midpoint. Guess what? Mid means middle. Wow, what did that say?
The point exactly in the middle.
The point exactly in the middle. Refer to C. Yes, ma'am.
On the bicep where it says no, where you put notation, would you put CV or just have CV?
Either way, you can switch them around. It's totally fine.
So it's the same thing.
It means exactly the same thing. Okay, you guys got midpoint down? Mid means middle, point's the point in the middle. Last page, do we have 3 left? 3 left. Parallel lines.
A brief spot.
2 lines. That never intersect. And lie in the same plane. Okay? 2 lines that never intersect and lie in the same plane. So, back wall, you see that ninja up there? Back wall, there's a ninja. Right above the head of the ninja, there's a purple line. Say it goes across like that, okay? That's basically the top of the bulletin board back there. Okay? That's going to be in the bottom by his feet, where his feet would be at. There's another purple line, right, that goes across. Okay? There's purple line on top, purple line on the bottom. Those two would be parallel. Okay? Next happy birthday, there's a vertical line by the H. That guy would be parallel to the one way over here next to the door. Okay? Not really. Someone drew this. I drew it from that. So a student drew that when I had a goatee. And then I basically looked at the picture and
That's like epic, bro. Is that supposed to be you? No.
it's supposed to be, yeah.
It's supposed to be okay.
Yep. So if we have this line going through here, this line going through here, they're both parallel, and we're set. Okay? What we'll do is we'll actually draw some notation here. We'll draw little arrows on top of them like that. And it'll be the same number of arrows if you draw like 2, like so. That means parallel. So that's A, that's B, that's C, that's D. Okay, if we have a line AB and line CD, and they're parallel, all we do is we draw these little 2 slanted lines through here. They're actually a little bit taller, like they would go a little bit beyond the lines, like above the line, below the line. So that's where we're at. And I would say, like, line AB is parallel to line CD. Line AB is parallel to line CD. That's basically where we're at. Here, toss that in there too. Yes, ma'am.
Why are there 2 arrows on one? Like, I mean, not 2 arrows on the end, but 2 arrows on the inside.
That's a way for us to mark that those guys are parallel. If there's like 1 arrow and 1 arrow, 2 arrows, 2 arrows. We'll get into that later on. Hey, somebody give me their definition of perpendicular. You guys know what it is. What does it mean? Right? That's my line. They cross, and what's the angle? 90 degrees. Pretty flat. Okay. So 2 lines that intersect. Wow. At 90-degree angle. Yikes. Okay. 2 lines that intersect at a 90-degree angle. You guys know what this looks like. Basically, we have a line going like this. We'll say this is A and B again. Over this way, we have C, we have D, and that's 90 degrees. You guys okay with this? Seriously, I only need about 30 more seconds. You guys are doing great. I really appreciate your hard work. We would say AB, that's a line AB. We'd say line CD. Remember those lines have little arrows on top? Oh, Christmas card. At the door. At the door, you guys are going to get your assignments. The whole thing's tomorrow. I got at the door. At the door, you get your assignments. On Monday, we'll talk about what's new. Okay? Thank you for letting me know.